I mentioned that I was going to do a critique of a VIP. Well, it's time to do that. Now that we've gone through the elements of a good LinkedIn profile, let's see how well Aaron did. Aaron is the president and CEO at Pluralsight. First impressions, what do you think? How's the picture? How's the name? How's the professional headline? I like the picture a lot. I've never had a preference on color or black and white. What I really like is that it's a close-up of a headshot. I like that he's smiling, he seems personable, he seems inviting, he seems like somebody that I might want to do business with. I know I can't make that judgment just by looking at his picture, but the picture's inviting. You can see in his name field, he only has first and last name, so I like that. In the professional headline, something really interesting is happening. He didn't put anything in here, so LinkedIn took the current title and the current company and they made that into his professional headline. I definitely encourage you to change your professional headline. For example, Aaron could put something like, helping hardcore developers become better with current and relevant training. Isn't that a more grabbing professional headline? It talks to his audience and it helps you understand more of what he does or what his company does. As I mentioned earlier, you don't have previous titles to help that branding, so you really need something in your professional headline to help people understand what value you bring and who do you bring the value to. I can see Aaron got his vanity URL because it's in and then a name. He chose his last name. If he didn't get that, this would be a lot longer and it would have numbers and letters and slashes and stuff that doesn't make sense. When I click on the contact info, on the left-hand side, you can see that he did put links into all three websites, which is great. He even customized the About Me link, but he didn't customize company website. Remember, on my profile, I didn't put Jibber Jobber or company website. I put organize your job search. I would recommend to Aaron that he puts hardcore developer training, which I think is the tagline of Pluralsight right here. So instead of saying company website, it would say hardcore developer training. See the difference in branding that those few words make? If I mouse over the follow button, I can see that it goes to his personal Twitter account. On the right hand side, I have contact information that he put into the system. Scrolling down, I see his summary. Now, he's violating a number of things here. First, he didn't take up 2,000 characters. While he's telling stories, he's not using parse statements. You don't have to use parse statements, but they're very powerful to communicate with your target audience. If I were coaching Aaron on developing a better summary, I would have him talk about how his company helps people become better developers. You can do that through multiple parse statements or even little case studies. Another thing I would like to see in Aaron's summary is more white space. Even with the small amount of text that he has here, I would recommend that he breaks this into 2 or 3 paragraphs. It seems like on the internet we like to skim and we like to read things very, very quickly. The more you bunch up into big paragraphs, the harder it is to read. Below that, you can see in his experience, he wrote something here for Pluralsight, which I like. Again, I would recommend that he writes more. In the skills and expertise section, you can see he's gotten a lot of endorsements. The interesting thing here is he doesn't really have control over what shows up at the top. He might not want to show these things at the top. He might want to show other things, but there's very little control right now over that. In his education field, you can see there's opportunity to write more about his computer science BS degree. Here are some of the recommendations that he's received. Now, what I would recommend is to go through his recommendations and pick out lines or snippets or phrases that he can put up into the summary section. So for example, he might say something like, people tend to say this about me, and then he can use snippets from the recommendation but bring them higher up in his profile and essentially call them out. Down below I can see the groups that he's a member of, and it looks like all of these groups are on brand for what he's doing. Lot of technical groups that he belongs to. And that's it. Overall, he's done a good job. Definitely some room for improvement. The 2 major things that I recommend is a better professional headline and a stronger summary. Of course, he doesn't have a SlideShare presentation, and as you know, I think that's the best application that LinkedIn has to offer us. Good job, Aaron. I love LinkedIn Answers. I think LinkedIn Answers is one of the most powerful parts of LinkedIn. For a long time, it was the number one feature in my mind of LinkedIn. Let's go in and ask a question on LinkedIn Answers. I want to show you why and how it's so powerful. First, LinkedIn has put answers under the More tab. I'm not quite sure why they did that. I think it's so powerful it should be its own, but let's go under More to Answers. We'll go to the Answers homepage. On the homepage, we'll see a number of open questions from quote unquote your network. I have a fairly large network, so these are all first degree contacts. You might see questions from second or third degree contacts. We're going to ask a question. I already typed it out, so all I'm going to do is copy and paste. There's 3 pages. The first page is the one we're on, where we ask what would be the subject or the title of the question. So I'm going to copy that from my other monitor, paste it into this box. Now look at the question. Blogs versus everything else social. Has blogging been replaced by dot dot dot? Okay. Does this help me? Does this help brand who I am? Absolutely. I'm a speaker and a consultant in the social space, and so blogs are a part of that. And this question right here can help remind people what my brand is. Remember, this is a branding exercise. So I click on next, and on the second page, it allows me to basically flesh out the question. So here we can see the question that we asked right at the top. The next box says add details. And so I'm going to copy the details of my question. Let me read that real quick. Robert Merrill recently asked what the new blogging is. Is it something on Facebook or LinkedIn or Pinterest? It's a brilliant, current, and relevant question. My response is on my blog post here, and then I give the link. Now remember, I want to share my brand and share my messages with my LinkedIn group, and I want to share my blog stuff to my LinkedIn group and back and forth, and Twitter and Facebook. This becomes part of that comprehensive social marketing strategy that we talked about earlier. You're not just sending out your messaging and your questions and your information to silos that never talk to each other. You're sharing from one, if you will, silo to another. Okay, what do you think? Have social sites replaced what blogging used to be, or is blogging still relevant? And then because some of my audience are corporate marketers and most of my audience are people that are interested in personal branding and career transition, I say this question is relevant to both audiences. Okay, let's come down here and categorize your question. You can choose 2 categories. And once again, like a lot of drop downs in LinkedIn, this is fairly restrictive. So I know you want to add more categories, but this is what we got. And I honestly haven't seen this change in years. Find 2 categories that best fit, and don't worry about it if they don't fit perfectly. So I'm going to choose marketing and sales, and I'm not quite sure what here really fits, so I'm just going to choose writing and editing. Again, I'm not too worried about this going into categories that aren't exactly perfect. The benefit of who this really goes to is on the next page. So these are 2 that I'm going to pick that are not a huge deal. So the next one I'll choose career and education, and there isn't anything here about personal branding, so I'll just click on job search. So now I've chosen 2 categories and subcategories, and that's it. I'm not going to do anything more with categories. Down at the bottom, you have 4 checkboxes, and here's my advice. Don't check any of the checkboxes. If you have to check a checkbox, then what you really should do is rewrite the question so that you don't have to check the checkbox. My understanding is if you check on any of these checkboxes, then it will limit who can see your question, and you don't want to limit it. You want it to go out to everybody. For example, if I click on the first checkbox that it's bound by a specific geographic location, it's going to say, well, who are we going to show this question to? Only people that are relevant. So here's the zip code. I don't want to do that. Keep it unchecked. Keep all 4 of these unchecked. Click on ask a question. This is the 3rd page. It says your question's posted. It'll be open for 7 days, and you're done, right? Well, actually, you're not done. The most important part of asking a question on LinkedIn is right here. Well, there's other things that are important, of course. How you write the question, is it branding you? Are you respectful of the people who are getting the question? But this is the most important thing, assuming you've done everything else right. You want to send your question to up to 200 of your first degree contacts, and LinkedIn does the mailing for you. All you do is pick the 200. So what we're going to do is click on this little in icon, and it brings up a list of my contacts. Now, if I had a smaller network, this would be really easy, but what I have to do is click on 200 checkboxes. It's kind of a pain. When I had a smaller network, for example, I had less than 200 A's. Right now I have 264. I'm going to choose the A's for this one. What I'll do is I will click on every single one by hand, and I'll be right back. All right, we're almost there. We have two more connections left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose one, and believe it or not, I leave it at that. One time I put in 200 and then I said send me a copy, and it didn't work. It didn't send it to anybody. So I'm a little gun shy. I leave it at 199. I click on finished. There's all the names that I've selected, and here is the question in the email that goes out to my contacts. I'm going to see there's a send me a copy. I don't do that anymore. Click on send, and it goes out to 199 of my first degree contacts. Here's why this is brilliant. There really is no other way for me to reach out to 199 contacts like this. I can send out messages to 50 at a time, but it's pretty frustrating. It's not my favorite thing to do. So I love to send a real question, send it out to everybody on LinkedIn, right? They don't get it in their email, but they can see it if they happen upon it on their homepage or the answers homepage. But this also gives me the opportunity to send to 199 or 200 of my first degree contacts. It is a nurturing relationships exercise. Here's why this is one of my favorite features in LinkedIn. It helps me share my brand. It helps me nurture relationships that I've already established, and it helps put my name out in front of other people that might help me grow my network with relevant contacts. Make sure your question is real and respectful. If it's real and respectful, then you're not going to come across as a spammer or somebody who sends garbage all the time. The other thing is make sure that you don't miss opportunities to share your brand. Regularly, I'll see questions on LinkedIn that don't help me understand what the person's brand is. And I think, man, what a missed opportunity you just passed up. So that's it. LinkedIn answers asking questions. Very powerful strategy. It's one of my top favorite things to do in LinkedIn. It's proactive. I know it works because I've gotten a lot of value out of putting my name and my brand and my questions in front of my network, and the things that come back to me, whether it's information or richer relationships or opportunities, has been awesome. Why don't you try and think about a question that you can send out and send it through LinkedIn Answers to your network today?